Dan and I were discussing about my hair. I was thinking of cutting it, but then I was thinking of not cutting it because
Of the movie.
I don't know. It originally came from we were shooting the long con. It was a wardrobe thing, and I thought if I got it cut really short, then let's say we wanted to shoot some extra scenes, I would have to essentially wait. We'd have to wait to shoot the scenes that we needed to reshoot with me, reprising my role as Paul, and getting some extra shots. And I was like, wait, that would be stupid. I can always cut it back to where it was.
Yeah.
But I can't
Regrow it out.
regrow it out and buy extensions and painstakingly place longer hairs. So I thought, okay, well, I just won't cut it. And then it became something where, at baseball, they'll do no shave November. Yeah. So if you stay in,
grow your hair out
you grow your beard out, you grow your hair out. I was like, wait, why don't I do that for the film? It's my first film.
Yeah. Try
Try something new, grow my hair out, and I'm only going to cut it once the long con is done.
Yeah.
And you can see how long it is.
So now we're thinking about doing another video.
And now Dan's saying, wait, Joel, we can't cut the hair.
Let's do another feature film.
We got to do another idea.
Really long hair now.
Yeah, so Dan basically had an idea, a role
that
for me with the long hair. And Dan, what is this? What is this role?
So the film that we're currently sort of breaking is tentatively called The Apartment or The Complex or...
I like The Complex.
Yeah, the Complex, I think, is more what it's called. Probably more like what I was leaning to, sort of the vibe of it. And it's about a couple who move into an apartment complex, and it's sort of like their dream place. But there's like some weird things that are off. The janitorial staff, the people who run the place are a little weird. And they're a little off. And it's sort of that typical sort of horror film cliche of like, the staff, there's something strong. There's
entering a new environment.
Yeah, and the staff is weird, or the people who live there are sort of weird.
Yeah.
And then there's all these normal sort of like people who live there. You have your normal people who live there, and then you have these kind of weird staff members. And we start the film off with one of our main, potentially the villain, is Joel playing the janitor, and he's cleaning up a dead body. Like, there's blood everywhere. He's, like, dragging his body out. And so you're sort of primed to assume he's the bad guy. So the idea was these people go in, and they start to realize, like, the janitor is this crazy person.
This foreboding character who, like, always gives them a warning. There's always the Scooby-Doo warning person.
Yeah.
I've noticed in Scooby-Doo, because Scooby-Doo is one of my favorite kid shows.
Yeah.
And there's always that one person that says, don't take a ride at the fork when you're driving, because that'll take you to the haunted mansion.
That's what, like, the whole staff is. They all kind of seem creepy, and you think that they're the murderers, and ultimately the premise of the feature film would be that it's revealed that they're trapped here, and they're, like, being forced to do all these residents' evil biddings. Like, they're killing people they don't like.
So the neighbors that seem very nice
and normal
and sort of in the same boat and like, yeah, the janitor's a little weird, and all the while
the
residents are the ones that are forcing.
They're like the criminals. They're the terrible people, and they're like the people who are trying to murder everyone. Okay. So the ultimate opening scene that we see with the janitor is kind of misinterpreted through we put you in the middle of the scene. So we don't see who murders. We just see him cleaning up, so we presume you're the murderer. And so I just wanted to break that story idea, and I think it'd be cool to break a feature film idea in front of the camera. We sort of did that for the long con on our Patreon, if you want to go subscribe to the Patreon. But I don't even think we went this in-depth, because we sort of just put a camera up.
Well, we put a camera up, and at that point we were working on specific steps, which were the beginning steps of the film. We didn't go through the whole outline.
We didn't go through a lot of what makes the film, and this is a little bit more like we're having the foresight to sort of come up with, like, showing you how this is going right.
You haven't written anything, correct?
No, I have not written a single thing from this.
Okay, so this is
literally came to me, like, I've had the idea for a while, and I've wanted to tell you about it, but it's sort of like I've been waiting for the right moment where all my ideas sort of click together.
Yeah, okay.
And I had this other idea called The Elephant Man Murders, which is another storyline that I was working on.
Okay.
And it incorporated about this guy who was this sort of disfigured man. He was a janitor, and he's cleaning up a body And then all these kids see him cleaning up the body, and then they're like, oh, he's the murderer. But you find out it's not him. He's sort of being forced to do it under false pretenses. And I was like, what if I took that element and put it into this storyline?
Yeah, into a storyline where obviously we're at your apartment here. We can
actually do it today. We can do it today. We can do it tomorrow. We can do it whenever we want.
Yeah. So that we're sort of knocking out limitations that could possibly be a problem.
It's ultimately resource filmmaking. It's okay. We have what do we have at our disposal? We have an apartment. We have apartment grounds. We have a pool. We have things that we can use now that we can't be stopped from using. Really, I think we can get away with using them. And so I don't know. So I think it's just breaking the idea. So I mean I don't know. I was trying to come up with an idea that I felt we could do for like $1,000 or $2,000. That was kind of my idea. It was like, let's come up with a script that's something is super cheap that we could do now.
Yeah, and it's not going to be too crazy. Now, have you thought about the sort of the arc of? I'm guessing the protagonists are going to be this new couple.
Yeah.
So how is sort of have you
that's
thought about
that's the thing. I think you can go a couple ways. You can go the sort of like they're the new but bickering couple. So they're sort of like in a new relationship, but the stress of them moving from a new place to here. Maybe he's got a new job. Maybe she, like there's a certain like sort of standard sort of couple sort of arguments that are sort of coloring this, and maybe this allows them to bond. Like ultimately.
So they're not even comfortable with themselves yet. At this point.
And then maybe this traumatic experience makes them learn that their teamwork, their cooperation is important together.
Yeah, it's hard to have internal conflict when there's a massive external conflict.
Yeah.
That can only really be solved with teamwork, right?
Yeah.
So it's as they say, the moments when everyone comes together is when there's a major catastrophe that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, I sort of like that. I like that idea.
I just think that could be kind of a cool. You could sort of set them up as these kind of this couple where they clearly love each other, but they are on this rocky period.
The first tests of a new marriage, basically.
Yeah, a new marriage or a new relationship. I think that's something I think is very relatable.
Yeah,
I think it's something that you could get a lot of people to enjoy, and I think it's something that instantly sort of throws you into this, okay, you can kind of relate to who these characters are. And I think that's where I was thinking about starting. I don't know if you have any extra things to say about that. If not, I mean, we can sort of talk about some of the other characters or...
Yeah, no, okay, so we got the main protagonists. We have the one bad... There's always that one out there antagonist, which is going to be me with long hair and some shady guy. I'm probably going to wear a cap.
Actually,
a baseball
you're
cap.
more of a protagonist, I think. Actually.
Oh, really?
So you are a good guy.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're actually a good guy. You are the guy who's like, watch out, and you sort of become the good guy because everyone thinks you're the bad guy. You're the one we set up as our main antagonist in the beginning, and then 45 minutes into the film, we figure out, oh, he's actually being forced to work here. He's the janitor who's being forced to clean up the bodies. He's forced to do all this stuff. He can't leave. Like, he's stuck. Like, he's...
Now, who are these bodies? Who are these residents killing?
That's the first thing I was kind of thinking. I'm thinking, it could be other residents they don't like. Because I think you're kind of coming in from the perspective of these people. I think that the complex is run by, like, crazies. Like, Arkham Asylum sort of crazies. Like, it's like a bunch of crazy people have taken over one specific area, and murder and debauchery is sort of accepted. And I'm assuming the way I was thinking is like it's a very like John Carpenter-esque sort of like Escape from New York,
sort of like Clue almost, where you sort of have what resident did it with what it's sort of like.
I was thinking have you seen ever Escape from New York or no?
No.
So it's like a whole
Escape from New York.
Kurt Russell.
Yes, I have seen it.
So like the whole island is full of crazy people, and they all just doing all these crimes just because they want to. And so I think the whole concept of the complex is that they bring in people that they can just murder for fun, and then it's sort of like it's basically
like Hot Fuzz almost.
Yeah, it's kind
Where
of
they go to that community and they're just.
it's like it's kind of like that. That's kind of I can see what you're saying where it kind of goes with that.
It's like it's just like they end up being some stupid like cult-like thing where they're all around kid deciding that which
But I think
members
it's more.
have to be cleansed
I think
from
it's.
their community.
I think it's more anarchy in the complex. In my opinion, I feel it's less intelligent and more sort of psychopaths that are running the joint, and they've sort of just taken everything over. Because I think if you do the cult aspect, the sort of like I feel like it's too similar to Hot Fuzz. I think it has to be a little bit more horror film logic, in my opinion, is what I was thinking.
Okay, and now that's another point. Is this more of is it suspense, horror? I just feel like it's less of just generic horror.
I think it's less generic horror.
It's more psychological horror.
Psychological horror, and I think there would be some comedic elements to it too. I think you have to keep it somewhat.
So,
but I think the couple has to.
So like Get Out, basically, without the racial aspect.
With Get Out, or Hereditary, or any of those more sort of thinky sort of horror films. I don't think I'm going that deep. You know what I mean? I think I'm still going for more of a. Trying to think. Just a more specific sort of vibe, like I think Hot Fuzz. You hit it almost on the nail when you said that. Where maybe not as comedic as Hot Fuzz, but more horror, less comedy. But I feel like that still goes kind of close. That's I don't know, for me that's the tone. And then I mean again, what do you see the tone? Do you have a specific sort of?
Yeah, that's sort of why I asked the question. Is I really didn't fully sort of understand what you're going with. Obviously, it's not just a regular drama. I mean, clearly it's more of a
I was
psychological
thinking
thriller.
like Hot Fuzz mixed with like a John Carpenter film. Is what I'm really feeling. I feel like the John Carpenter sort of
very well developed community. I like complex, but I feel like you can sort of expound on like anarchy is one thing.
Yeah.
But a complex is different.
Yeah.
Like when I hear the word complex,
you're sort of thinking a little.
I'm like
more developed.
The complex. Like if I think of complex, it's a tendency, right?
Yeah.
If you have a complex, you have a tendency to do something that's, irregular.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I think when I think of complex, I think of zombies have complexes where they have to eat brains.
Yeah.
Right. There's always I'm trying to think of what could the complex for these residents be. I feel like anarchy is too general.
You're saying more of a psychological complex on top of you're saying like two levels where this is a physical complex, but then there's also a psychological complex that the characters have.
The residents clearly have a negative connotation in this idea. So what I'm trying to develop is what is the psychological component to their villainy, their antagonism of any outsider. So now here's another thing. This janitor.
Yeah.
Was this janitor a past resident? New resident?
So here's what
I feel like there's sort of like obviously a lot of horror films do the cycle trope.
Yeah.
But I feel like it would be something where
it might work.
The janitor used to be a resident and used to have a wife, but the wife didn't want to stay and become a slave basically to the residents, the complex, and she's gone and he's not. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, so she's dead, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically he probably had to clean up his own wife's body, which is really sad, and it can really sort of add to his.
So are you saying like he killed her, or are you saying?
No, I'm saying the residents killed her clearly,
and then he is sort of being tortured by like having to be there.
Yeah, and so that's why he's so crazy, because
he's lost his wife.
He's lost his wife. He's.
I get what you're saying there. Yeah,
he's like the complex is forcing him to be there. Is forcing him to stay there.
Yeah, they're forcing him to stay there. They killed his wife. He's now sort of like he can't escape. And he's sort of living in this world that sort of tortures him because he's sort of always remembering what happened to his wife. I like that. I think
I sort of think of sociology or Scientology.
Yeah.
As well. where you sort of get in and then you
Can't
by the
get out.
time you realize, oh crap, I don't want to be here anymore.
You can't get out.
Like
Tom
you-
Cruise, don't hunt us down.
But you know, it's definitely has some aspects of that. I feel like the cyclical trope, I think, would be something to pursue. The fact that all the help is all past residents that didn't wanna, or new residents that didn't wanna.
So yeah, there's two elements. There's the
And I think there's the upstairs and the downstairs. I think we also got to play the upstairs and the downstairs. The old traditional Arthur Conan Doyle.
sort of
It's different on the upstairs than the downstairs. Where
I see
you know
what you're
everyone that sort of moves in downstairs are going to be the help,
yeah.
and whoever's upstairs are going to stay upstairs, and you don't go upstairs.
Yeah, it's sort of like Animal Farm, kind of like where there's
Yes.
there's different levels.
Exactly, and I think it'd be a great idea to have like a garbage chute where bodies just
Yeah.
like fly down,
Yeah,
and then like all of a sudden, like his wife like
flies down.
and he's literally.
So is
gotta-
that going to be
he's literally
played?
gotta, like,
Is his wife obviously in the past?
Yeah.
What if his wife is like a crazy, and he thinks that she was murdered?
Oh.
He thinks she was murdered, and he just sees this body that like looks like her. It's like her clothes or whatever, and it's just bloody. And he's like, no. And then they pull the body away, and like, now you're the janitor now. And he's sort of forced to live there, and then he finds out. And what if she's the ultimate antagonist?
Oh, I like that.
I don't know.
I like that, Danny boy.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really clever. So yeah, the cyclical trope, the fact that the janitor's wife ends up being the main antagonist, I think is a really good and clever switch up. I also think it would be smart to have sort of like the upstairs, downstairs sort of Arthur Conan Doyle thing going on, where the upstairs are the actual residents
And the downstairs.
and the downstairs are the help, or
Yeah.
So the residents are obviously as a collective
Or the
are
bad
the antagonists of the complex. There's like a pecking order.
Yeah.
Everyone on the upstairs sort of controls everyone on the downstairs. Everyone on the downstairs ends up becoming a slave at some point, or they basically are going to fill some sort of role to help the upstairs do whatever they freaking want. But at the same time, there still has to be an overarching goal, right?
Yeah.
There has to be an overarching goal to the main antagonist or the residents. It can't be just, oh, we want to be lazy and have as many free women and free workers and get us money. It's usually more than that.
The goal for me, I was thinking is sort of like living in it's like, in Australia, like Australia was like a big island for like just criminals, and they would send them all there. Like back in the early days, that was what Australia was just this big island where they sent all the criminals.
Okay.
I think that they're trying to create this sort of like paradise for them, like their version of paradise, which is they can murder anyone they want, they can do whatever bad things they want, and they want to create it in this little ecosystem that can't be sort of penetrated. Like no one really cares because no one's going into this complex. You know what I mean? I think that's their goal, is like a sort of like create their own utopia for themselves. And obviously it's clearly fucked up and it's clearly weird and it's clearly not going to work. But they sort of have gotten along far enough because there's enough gullible people that come in that don't see through the lies, and then they're like stuck there. And I think in a place, especially like the way where I live, I think just the physical, like there's literally only one exit to the location. And I think that's kind of interesting, like being in a place where there's literally only one way to exit. The only way you would ever be able to get out is if you went through the front. In which I think that they don't immediately trap you in there. It's not like a trap where like the second you move there, you can't get out. They let you go in, come and go without it bugging you at all until you've gotten comfortable, and then one day you wake up, chloroformed in their basement, and they're like, "No, you're the janitor."
Yeah.
I don't think it's as transparent as like the second they move in that they're like, "Now you're."
Oh yeah, clearly.
They're like they're sucking you in first.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to feel like, okay, so they want to make a utopia, but I don't know. I still feel like
Missing?
there's something that needs to be that's missing from a desire, a normal and realistic desire from the residents. Um, it's not like a cleansing of the population. I don't think that makes any sense. It's not just if it's just pure selfishness that yeah we can live great lives and for us. I still think there needs to be a tangible and
Realistic.
realistic sort of want that they're striving towards.
I mean,
so even Scientology has
its own specific sort of goals.
yeah its own specific.
I mean, I think the utopia is part of it. I think that I get what you're saying.
I agree. I like the fact that there's a utopian aspect.
There's something that I get what you're saying. I don't know if we'll be able to come up with that right this second. I think that's just something we got to think about. I'm trying to think. I don't know.
We're up for suggestions, everybody.
Yeah, if you have any.
What is that one thing that really motivates the residents to do what they're doing? You know, like
Yeah.
now, see, I'm thinking of also like, what's the movie where you can basically do it for one day of the year. You can do whatever you want.
I mean, you could make it. There are they people that are like mentally unwell, like to the point where they just want to be left alone? Is that what it is? Like maybe they it's not just they want to create a utopia, but they're these people that have been like poked and prodded in like some sort of medical way, and now that they just want to be left alone, and that's sort of like their true want is they just want to be left alone because they're like not they're just like they're the people that have sort of been thrown away by by society. Is that what it is? That they've been sort of treated as as freaks or unnatural or something like that, even if they're not necessarily. And that's I don't know. That could be one element you could take it. I don't know. That's something I'm thinking. I think the utopia is enough to start a story. I get what you're saying though. Getting deeper.
I feel like an aspect that I think that you and I have really focused on, and I think it's really something I really enjoy about our content, is that every player involved has a motivation.
Yeah.
And has
a personal
a
motivation.
line, a character line that can be drawn back to
some past thing.
A good person, right?
Yeah.
A good person or a place where they were untainted.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like adding that complexity to even the worst of antagonists allows for an audience member to feel that this is deeper than just good versus evil.
I think I get what you're saying. So here's what I'm thinking about then. Is that the audio running still?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure. Okay, so I'll continue. But so is it maybe just the main antagonist we need to create more of a maybe the residents as a whole?
The main antagonist, but the main antagonist is the person that is setting this all in motion, right?
I think it's the
So clearly people set some stuff in motion, but the main antagonist has got to have a reason that she's keeping this machine well oiled, right? She's got a reason why she's got to have new members to the complex. There's got to be a reason why there's people that begin as residents and end up as helps, as the help, or it ends up as basically slaves of the complex.
So the main antagonist is the janitor.
Here's my point: in a boat, I get you need the captain who's looking out and making sure where he's going, and you need the motor, right?
Yeah.
The people, the help in this case that keep it going and that keep the actual direction of the ship going somewhere.
Yeah.
But my point is, where is the direction of the ship? Right? If you have a destination in mind. In my opinion, this complex has to have a destination in mind. So my question is, what is that destination? Where is the captain, which is this main antagonist? Where is she heading toward? How does she know where she's going? You know?
Yeah, I think the utopia part is a part of the destination. I think you're wanting to color the destination in more. So I think that the broad answer is they want to make this place their own home where they can do whatever they want. That's the general. But I think you want a more colored in sort of perspective where you're like, that's it, but it's not complex enough is what you're saying. It's not as, not complex enough, but it's not as filled in yet. Correct?
Yeah, it's too abstract.
Too abstract of a concept.
Okay, and film, while it does have some
Abstract.
necessity for abstract and ambiguous sort of themes that sort of keep an audience member engaged through a ride, where it's hard to be engaged if you know the ending, right? It's hard to be engaged if you know what's coming up. So I get you have to have ambiguousness, but at the same time,
you gotta
at the end, at some point, you have to give the audience member something.
The master
yeah,
plan.
you got to give them. You got to reveal the plans.
I mean,
you know.
So is it?
And if the master plan is, we want this to be, that's been done before. We've seen that before.
So it's a more internal. So that's the external plan. We need an internal plan, is what you're saying. The external plan that's what they would tell people if they caught them. Would be like, we're gonna make this a utopia. But the internal plan is, what do they truly want? Is what you're saying. What do they truly want? That's the hard thing. That's sort of figuring out. And for me, like I said, okay, one way is, do they just want to be left alone? Do they? But I feel like being left alone is a little bit of a weak answer for an antagonist. Like an antagonist needs to be antagonizing, and to be left alone is to imply that they just want everyone to leave. So why would they bring people in?
Exactly.
So I think it has to be something a little bit deeper than that. So maybe these are people. Give me a second. This is what is good about, I think, putting the camera here. Is these are the moments where you sort of in the creation of it, you sort of don't know where to go next.
Yeah.
But these are the ideas that sort of make you think about like the story in a deeper way. So I don't know.
Every story gets to an unknown aspect.
Do we want to sort of think about something else and then kind of circle back around on this? Because I think I'm going to need a few minutes just to think about that.
Yeah, it's very.
I think that's the
crux.
That's the crux. That's the end game of where things are going. But I think like we could still brainstorm other elements until we come, because I think there's something on the tip of my tongue.
Well, I'm trying to let's just think about that for a little bit, because why would a complex need to bring new people in, right? Okay, so they're definitely killing. I think the answer's there. I think we just need to think of the rules of the script that already exist that can allow us to sort of narrow down the idea a little bit more.
Well, let's look at our film The Long Con. Let's use that as an example. Okay. So we have a feature film that we have been put into. We've made it through production. We're in post production. We already made the script. There's a video on Patreon if you want to watch it. So this film, what is the sort of the end goal of our main character? I mean, and we can bleep it out and go over so we don't tell everyone what it is. But me and you know the sort of the end game of that film.
Yeah,
how does that go?
It's pretty simple. It's freedom.
It's freedom.
Being free.
So that's a specific element. Okay, so the character, one of the main characters wants to have freedom. So but what is the antagonist? The antagonist. I know I don't want to specifically explain the antagonist's motivations to the audience, but to me and you, the antagonist has a very specific want. So that's what you're trying to create, correct? Is sort of that specific emotion in our main villain. Yeah. So there's a specific want, and the way I learned from Aaron Sorkin is every character sort of has a want. Everyone has a want. Yeah. In every scene, there's sort of a character want.
Because if there's no want, there's no action.
Yeah.
There's no doing anything. Yeah. You don't want anything.
So I think then it's okay. So in the storyline, we have this society that wants to have this sort of peaceful place for them to live in their fucked up definition of it. Yeah. But that's just is them in general. Below that, there's the main villain, which would be the girl. Is the girl the main villain? I would assume so, because she's
the wife. Yes, the past wife of our.
Okay, so is it something to do with her relationship with her husband? Is it something to do with maybe something in her past life, or is it something to do with the place changing her?
We need to figure out why those people don't cut it.
I was thinking it's more like they're like bringing them in like cattle almost, where like these people are all crazy, and then they bring all this fresh meat, and then everyone's coming in there and just killing.
Okay,
people.
fresh meat. Are they vampires? Do they need to feast on meat? That's been done before.
But it's not terrible. I mean, it's not. I mean, again, like the physical.
It sort of does check the box of, okay, they can't go outside. They need to rely on other people to go
Okay,
outside.
so maybe it's not vampires then. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it's not vampires. Maybe it's a specific. I mean, you have zombies, you have vampires, you have all those things. Maybe it's a very specific creature that we create for the movie, like a specific thing. Maybe they're cannibals. Maybe they're, you know what I mean? Like, there's a billion different directions you can go with that. But I think I get what you're saying there. Is like maybe there's a specific.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a limitation that they need to keep members coming in the complex, right?
Yeah.
Also, a complex means that it's complex. It's very complex to get out.
Yeah.
It's easy to get in, it's hard to get out. That's the okay. So that's obviously, but they don't pick it. Okay, we can do the normal, the high brows versus the low brows, meaning you have to be a certain status in order to enter.
Yeah. I don't even think we get that complex. I feel like there's so much of the mystery of the film is like we don't know so much about the. Like I feel like the first third of the film we don't really know anything about like what's going on. It's sort of just they're coming into we start off with the normal life with this guy and this girl. They decide, we got to move to this new town. They move to the new town. Things are a little strange. They sort of interact with people. And by the end of the third act, they see the janitor pulling away one of the bodies. That's the end of the third act, or the first act, I mean, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We end there. Second act is they run into the janitor. The janitor essentially sees them and like runs them down. And then he like attacks them. And then he brings them to like a quiet place. And he sort of explains the story. I think he gives the second act exposition, some exposition of where we're at, like sort of like this is what's going on. You keep that to like 1 to 3 minutes long. You try to keep that short, and then I think it's okay. Let's try to escape, and he sort of like laughs it off. I think the janitor, sort of like this is not possible. You're not getting out. We're not getting out. I've tried to get out and then like forever. Insert how many years he's tried to escape. I think then you go from there, which is, okay, they try to obviously escape and then they fail. They either get caught or they get stopped for some reason. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. What do you think? That's at least I think the first two acts is sort of the and then
I like where it's going. I mean, obviously, I think with
refinement,
specific
tweaks
when we're setting up the first draft of the script. I mean,
there's usually gonna be little elements there's
gonna be something that you're gonna what if this happens, what if that happens, but I'm just trying to be at peace before I can start writing anything. I have to be at peace with
the general concept.
A beginning, a middle, and end.
Yeah, so I think we have we have the first two acts. The third act is what are they? You're pretty much so
yeah.
Are they vampires? Are they zombies? Are they none of those above? Are they, you know what I mean? I don't think it should be zombies. I don't think it should be vampires per se.
Yeah.
I think that because I think you can still go the sort of mythical creature route, but I think it needs to be something that's off the wall, or something we create ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or are they cannibals, or are they, you know? I don't know. That's where we kind of have to think about it. I don't know. I think that's the main element. Or are they just regular people that have some sort of weird motivation? Or is it sort of like everyone in the group is sort of particularly motivated by a different thing? You know, are they all just motivated by just evil? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Another question is, are the newcomers the only new people? Is there only one apartment
of new people?
Of new people.
In my opinion, you can go two ways with this.
I think that'd be interesting. I think that'd be interesting that if there was only, like, you think that like there's new people every time. You know, okay, that guy came in for 6 months ago. Yeah, this guy came in a year ago. What if there's only ever one open room?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
And then if that's the case, if it's limited to just 2 new people every year.
Yeah.
And the janitor was that 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 20 years ago. He was that he was the new couple.
Yeah. I like that. I like the idea. I don't even think you have to go in terms of years. Like I think it's like okay, let's say every 2 months they bring in a new couple to like do whatever they're gonna do. I think that's smart though. I think that it keeps it controllable to they can't like you know what I mean? Like if there was a ton of people coming in, someone would escape. But if it's only 2 people, then the whole complex is watching them.
Yeah. They're like they are the only 2,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it really scary.
Yeah,
because the guy walking his dog in front, the guy smoking out front
is a bad guy.
You know, the guy doing the trash, the guy. I mean, the help. I mean, it's like everyone
is the bad guy.
You are the only new people.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
When they're moving to a new apartment complex.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
But you don't never really think you're the only one, right? You're the only new people.
Yeah, you can play on that. You can play on that stereotype, and I think in a funny way, like a sort of like, oh my gosh, like we're the only ones here. And I think that the janitor sort of tells them, like, you think you're the only ones that are like. I think you could sort of play that in the beginning with this stilted sort of like, no one came and brought us, like, you know, like the whole generic sort of like someone brings you a dish to your apartment, like, oh, here's like a housewarming dish or a present or something.
Yeah.
You could play it that no one does anything, or maybe they all do. Maybe they go overboard.
Everyone comes by.
Where it's like 6 people. They're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
they think it's really nice. You know, it's like, man, the neighbors here are really
friendly.
Really friendly.
And I think we could play the reversal where the neighbors are super friendly and nice, but then we see the janitor being a murderer.
I am a little concerned.
What?
That I'm getting too close to what's that island place? It's not the island. It's DiCaprio. He's on an island.
The island?
What? No.
I think I know what you're talking about.
He's a mental patient. He's a...
Oh, Shutter Island.
Yeah, Shutter Island. So Shutter Island is a... My idea is that they didn't just happenstance upon this place.
Yeah.
My idea is that they were sent here intentionally for something they didn't know they did. But they did.
So you're saying that there was an intentional reason why these people were picked?
Like this, they didn't choose... They think they chose this complex...
Well, the complex shows them.
But they're paying for their transgressions in a way.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. So
I'm saying that
is that the motivation?
The machine has always been.
Yeah.
You just didn't know that the machine was always there.
Is it a specific?
It's a governmental thing.
Is it?
It's like a I don't know. Like I'm thinking the complex is way bigger than anyone thinks.
Yeah. So are you saying less mythical, sort of scary monsters type thing, and more of a sort of real world
like
villainy, scum and villainy?
You have been deemed to be morally unfit to live.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. So maybe it's something to do with their relationship.
Yes.
It has to do with their relationship.
It has to do with their relationship.
I think that's so that maybe there's a specific element of their relationship or something like that, and then they pick like one couple every year or 2 years or whatever, and they bring.
It's like I think it's more of like a governmental like
program. I see what you're saying.
It could be obviously you can go the scientific research type where they always need new bodies to do like live research on, but I think that's a little too crazy. I think it needs to be, you know how like Cabin in the Woods is they have to pick, they have
Yeah.
the ritual where they pick. But I
Yeah.
think more of a realistic where they pick a specific couple for a specific reason.
Yeah.
The horror that I'm talking about is the fact that this has been going on for like hundreds and hundreds of years without anyone knowing it.
Well, and it's realistic because this is not the first time. I mean, I've done a bunch of research on like government experiments and stuff. I did it for a paper I did a long time ago, and there's some crazy stuff that the government has done to people just in general.
Yeah.
Not even like conspiracies, like true things that have happened. So I think that there's something interesting you could go with that, and I think you could go with so it's either an experiment or it's a specific type of person. So why would they bring these people in? That's the thing. That's
why
question.
this couple?
Why this couple specifically?
So there needs to be a specific trait that this couple has
That no one else specifically has or is
that sets them apart enough to be forced or selected to become a part of this.
pissed off. Maybe one of them's a journalist or something. You see what I'm saying? Maybe one of them's a journalist and posts some crazy article or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like tying into the one person's job, and then they have to move for this job. Like maybe they get invited because of his job. Like maybe he did something that upset the system, and then they're like, "You're invited to live, but here's where we're gonna set you up at this apartment." And it's sort of like everything is set up for them.
It's through his work.
Through his work.
Or through her work.
Yeah, through his or her work. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And then they set him up with a place. Like, we got you a nice place.
It's all set up.
It's all set up.
That's how they bring him in.
That's how they bring him in. So, and
I like that.
So maybe it's not a very specific thing. It's just the fact that. So it's like, let's say he's a journalist and he's like, I've been writing this article that's been, exposing X and X thing. And then. Or just he's a journalist in general. You know what I mean? You could come with that, and maybe this is where they bring all their people who they don't particularly agree with, or something like that. I don't know. I think that could be kind of a cool concept.
I like that. I do like that concept. I do like the concept a lot. So, what's a big system that exists that if it were to be interrupted, it's big enough to where this would happen? They're basically literally being sent to a slaughterhouse. That's in effect. What the goal? It's just a slaughterhouse that's always been
It could
running.
be government. It could be a corporation. It could be anything. In my opinion, I think government is the most ubiquitous sort of idea.
Yeah, okay, government, but there's got to be a specific aspect of the government.
I think it's vague because I think this is. Think about it. If this has happened multiple times, why was the janitor brought there? The janitor was brought there for a specific reason too. Then he must have upset the system. And his wife is clearly a part of the system.
Is the new member's wife also part of it? Because the janitor doesn't think his wife is still living.
I think that
does one of the spouses bring their?
I don't think it does for the main couple because I feel like the main story has to be them overcoming. I think there has to be a positive.
Okay, so
there's so much
my question is, where did the janitor's wife work?
Like what did she do?
What did she do before they were brought? Because I feel like there can be a special case where basically the wife brings the husband.
Yeah, no, I think that's
right, and that's what happened to him, right? But he doesn't even know it.
Yeah, I think it's.
But he can. That's something he can probably tell them. My wife and I, before we came here, we worked. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
and then they sort of the new couple sort of realizes
that's sort of like them.
That's like sort of exactly where they used to work. Because it's very common that a husband and wife sort of meet at work.
Yeah. I see what you're saying there. So you're saying that maybe. Do you think that the janitor was a journalist too, or something?
See, journalism is good, but it's not great. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's so out there.
Hacker, I'm thinking like a Julian Assange type kind of. But that's
I hate to say this, but could it be automation?
Automation. Okay, give me an example.
Okay, like everyone, the big thing nowadays is that like automation is taking over.
Yeah.
So basically, computers are taking people's jobs.
Yeah.
Is it basically overpopulation and automation?
Okay, give me an example. What do you just explain?
Okay, the concept of overpopulation is that there's too many people. If there's too many people on the earth, there's not going to be enough resources.
Yeah.
And so a sort of a governmental program that basically each week they bring in new couples to just slowly and surely cut down the population.
So essentially like Thanos, but
yes, exactly. We have just made Avengers Endgame, but just in a more realistic context.
Okay, but I mean, like it's okay. So the government believes.
Is that how open the aperture is? It must be closed down so far.
This is ridiculous.
This is like. Oh no, that's not too bad.
Okay, whatever. So Avengers Endgame. no, but it's okay. So are you saying that maybe it's an overpopulation thing, and this is what they?
I'm saying it's like in the future, and when basically the government has decided that there's only one way to combat overpopulation, and it's not this crazy genocide of just killing masses of people.
It's like a very specific.
It's just
taking away the wasteful people.
Every week, it's just a new couple.
A random. That's not a bad idea.
Because not only are you taking away a specific couple, two people, but potential families, right?
Yeah.
Potential.
So you're saying that maybe this is like okay, I get what you're saying. So it's sort of like this is like this slaughter.
It's basically like a governmental overpopulation slaughterhouse.
And they bring people in here, and then it's sort of like okay, we're gonna get rid of these people. So then, is it just two people, or is it multiple people they're bringing? Because then, like, if they want to do this.
Well, it's
is the idea
it's a new one every week, basically.
Okay, so but
it's basically a week.
Yeah,
and I think that also helps because we're on a limited budget.
Then why is the help have to be there mostly so that these people can sort of upkeep the place? So they sort of force people.
Yeah, they got to get rid of the bodies. The help makes sure that when they're killed, the bodies are
but
the help
does the help have to be the residents? Are we still going with that idea that they're still using sort of the people? Is it because those people won't talk because they're already scared, sort of like into submission?
Well, they want it to be. The goal is to make this whole process, the complex, as clean as possible.
Yeah.
They want it to be as clean as possible. In order to be clean as possible, you need a lot of people cleaning up. You need a lot of people figuring out, making sure that everything looks right, that the outside looks like a normal.
What I'm saying is, why wouldn't they just fill it with a bunch of federal employees? Or are you saying is that because those people would talk? Are you saying
they are federal employees?
What I'm saying, the janitor who's cleaning up is clearly someone who was brought into the organization to be killed, it seemed like, and then they spared his life. Why did they do that? That's my question. Why did they spare the help's life? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, why would they make the janitor the janitor? That's I guess
he can't have kids.
You can't have kids. What I'm saying. Well,
only those who are not physically able to have kids are allowed to remain, because the whole point is it's basically I'll just be honest, people. This is the exact opposite of the. This is the exact opposite of The Handmaid's Tale. We were just making the opposite of The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale is low population, not enough people, and there's only certain people who can reproduce.
Yeah, so it's the opposite.
Okay, it's the opposite. It is. There's so many people that can reproduce. That's the problem.
Okay, I understand it. I get the reason.
And he and his wife.
And this is under the assumption this is what the government is saying, is that the world's overpopulated. It's not necessarily the viewpoint that we as the audience are trying to get.
No, I'm trying to rationalize why an interesting reason why the complex.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Is the complex?
Yeah. No, I like this. I like this idea.
And you think, and basically, I think the janitor basically reveals that this isn't the only complex.
That's obvious. That's obvious that there's one.
This is building 1135, 11335 or 355.
Yeah, there's a billion ones. There's a billion ones.
Yeah, this is just one building. This is one of the complexes. So we have 10 complexes on this street, on this block.
Yeah,
you're the couple that was picked for this complex.
Okay, I think we got the high concept idea. We have the storyline. The only thing, obviously, is why is the help the help? Like, why couldn't the help just be a random employee they picked? Why is it like? Why did they pick a resident? Why did they bring people in that they were going to kill and then spare their lives and then make them the help? That's the last question I think I have in my
Yeah, because they're not.
Do they just pick? Do they just kill one of the spouses and say like now you're forced to work here? Is that what it is? Like they've already taken away their ability to. Like they're not gonna be able to have kids with their wife or their girlfriend or whatever, and then now they're like, okay, you're stuck here. Is that what it is? Are they using those employees?
Yeah. So basically, they're employees because they can't physically have kids.
Okay.
Which basically they're not as big of a problem.
But why would they? I'm saying, I guess the number one thing, why would they pick them over just a regular person they could just employ without having to make it as messy? Is it because they enjoy the power trip of it? Is it because they don't want as many people talking and they figure the less amount of people that are...
So you're saying, why would they take that unnecessary risk of having people that know the...
Yeah, they know the secret. Know the secret. That's the number one thing I'm kind of concerned about, sort of questioning what... In the original version, with them being psychopaths, there's a sort of element of, okay, I understand why they make the help, because they're sort of like crazy. In this version, or is it we think that it's the government, but they're still sort of run by crazy people? Like, it's still the government, but they're run by just crazies that are sort of
or
off the hook.
it could have originally been instituted by the government.
Well, the way I'm thinking is this: it's like, okay, if there's billions of these places or tons of these places, like some of these places have gone a little astray, from the original mission. So
that's
maybe,
that's what I'm
saying.
Too.
So maybe this is like, okay, yeah, it's set up by the government.
It's like an abandoned government program. It's basically an abandoned government program.
I don't even think it's abandoned necessarily. Maybe it's still going, but it's just like now it's become so. The mission has become so large that you can't like. It's like when you see any sort of like abuse of power, like from the police or any system of government. There's an abuse of power. Not everything can be perfectly controlled. When there is the human mind that's like independent of thought and can do whatever it wants. If you have all these places, there's going to be a few like contact points where certain things are going to go wrong.
Yeah, well, here's the goal. I guess the goal is, I like that. I agree with that proposition. I also think that at some point, people are going to be tired of doing their own job.
Yeah.
So they're saying we're getting so many people coming in here, we might as well just castrate a couple of them, and then put them into supervision roles. Right? You see what I'm saying? So usually there was people that were basically hired to do this job, but they're just selling off their own jobs.
So it's back to Animal Farm. So essentially, it's they used to run they run the joint, and now they're like hiring out. They're not hiring out. They're like forcing people to do their jobs.
They're basically saying, "Well, I was going to kill you.
Yeah.
You got to still work. You got to still make sure this thing keeps going, so I can go upstairs and have fun and not have to work as hard."
Okay, that's an understandable logic.
The only problem though is how do you? It's so hard to convey.
I think again that's the ultimate crux of this idea is like how do you convey all this, and I think so. What it comes down to is okay.
And here we go to is an idea meant for a film?
Yeah.
This is, I think, a very important part of the creative process is you have to come to the realization that is the specific idea that I want to sort of force through, is it compatible with the visual medium of film?
Yeah.
And so this is where we have to determine whether this idea that we've come up with, yes, we've justified a way that all of this thing can make sense, but is it so convoluted that a general audience member will sort of be turned off and not get it?
I don't think so necessarily. I think it's all in how you serve the dish. I think the intrigue of it is the convolution at first. I think So the first 2 acts, I think we're not revealing a lot of this.
So
stuff.
the general enemy is procreators.
The antagonists think is the creator.
Yeah. Is procreators. Procreators are ruining the country.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
Yeah, and so I think that concept.
So people who can't have kids are celebrated.
Yeah. Or we're not celebrated. They're still kind of put in these crazy roles. Obviously, of being sort of like forced.
Yeah, but the let's if we're gonna have the upstairs and the upstairs are the people who can't have kids and the downstairs are basically the people who can have kids, but
yeah.
they're getting killed off.
Yeah. Or is it you were invited there and you were sort of it was taken from you the whole because your wife. Maybe your wife signs away, like because you have the wife.
Yeah.
Character, maybe she signs away both your lives, and then maybe at some point she sort of reveals herself. She's like, we can be happy, we can live upstairs.
Oh, I like this.
So I think maybe at some point she sort of goes away, and he's like looking for her, and then she finally reveals herself at the end of the film, and she's like, we could be happy, we can live upstairs, all you have to do is just these 2, you just got to get rid of them. You just got to get rid of them. And he sort of like has to choose between... Maybe it's the option to opt in. Maybe she opted in, and then there's a point where he's able. They're like, "Here's the contract. Like you can opt in too." And he's sort of sitting there, like sweating, like about to sign it, and then he like.
So the promise, the goal, the promise of the upstairs people is that if you work hard enough on the lower levels,
you'll sort of get to the higher level.
You're gonna work your way up.
Yeah, for some people, obviously, they're not gonna do it for everyone.
Yeah, and obviously he was chosen because. They just sort of needed more people.
Yeah.
The government only gave them so much funds to run this. And I mean, realistically, it seems like the government, the government sees it viable enough to make these complexes.
Yeah.
But they're doing it, you got to admit, the government would only put this thing into place if this was the whole population was going through a really rough economic time.
Yeah.
Right? So we're in a world where everything's expensive. Cost of living is through the roof. It's because of the overpopulation, it's extremely difficult to make it.
So then they're clearly weeding out people so that it will become cheaper to live.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You heard it here first.
This makes sense. And if you have anyone out there has better ideas.
Yeah, this is just the first brainstorm session. Yeah. Obviously, okay. I think the big thing is going from big scale to little scale. Is okay. So we have this big scale idea. Can we do it in the little scale that we have here? That's the question.
Yeah. Yep.
You think we can?
Of course.
I think we can too. I was
posing the question. It's how we do it. It's how you do it. All film has dialogue. Not all film has effective and efficient dialogue.
I feel like you use like your dad's sort of like office, that big office space is like where like the elites go. That could just be a building. You don't have to really show it. You know what I mean? Like the outside of it. You show the inside and that big conference table and stuff. I think that there's something there. You could have that as like this is where the elite go. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that'd be cool. I think you have the main couple. Which I still think their whole thing is they're moving to this new town. They're still going through this sort of the very real struggle of like moving to this new place, being together, and this story sort of brings this.
And I think we can add sort of a new thing is that they're sort of excited to become parents.
Oh yeah, you could add that too.
Obviously, we can add the fact that they're coming here to this place
to make a better life
for themselves. They clearly have enough funds to do what they need, but another ploy of this governmental program is the less people we can take. Basically, we can take all their money and distribute it
more equally, or
to less people,
or to the government or whatever.
Or to the government.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting. I like that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you have anything more really you want to go on, or because I feel like we've gone on pretty long. I don't want to go too long for one episode. You know what I mean? Just sort of try to figure out what...
Yeah, this is it's been pretty fruitful. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal is to talk to you guys more openly about these kind of ideas. and say like, what are we doing here?
I mean, this is step one. This is step one in any process of coming up with an idea, right? It's just you have an idea, and then the idea goes from sort of this ambiguous thing,
I mean, literally
this
this
abstract thing you have in your
before
brain.
this video was even recorded, we literally had nothing. So now we're in a situation.
Dan had an idea.
I had like a small little part of it, but like realistically, other than okay, there's a janitor. Where does the idea go from there?
Yeah.
That's kind of I think the sort of the nest of where everything starts. But I think you start getting these bigger ideas, and you start building and building and building and building until you get to a point where okay, we have all the parts. Now we need to sort of reduce everything to what can we actually do in terms of resources. And I think we can do something like this. I don't know, is this will be the next idea? I have no idea. We still have other ideas that we're going to probably brainstorm. I think we should brainstorm some more for the camera, for you guys.
But I mean, this is completely necessary for developing any film. Is sort of just rectifying exactly how there is an arc, where the characters begin, where they end, why they're there, why they go through what they go through.
Yeah.
Nothing's random in film. Every shot, every sequence, every beat in a film is intentional. It's for some goal, it's for some purpose, it's for some either moral reason or for some narrative choice is made because there is a real world parallel or application that is trying to be sort of put forth.
Yeah. So thanks guys for checking it out. I really appreciate it, and we're gonna try to make more of these videos, tutorials on how to do stories, not even really tutorials, but more like sort of just free form conversations.
What our process is like. I mean, it's hard. When do you sort of just look? Sometimes you see your table reads online. Sometimes you see someone talking about an idea they had, but you never really see the fleshing out of how an abstract concept becomes
an abstract
script. Or becomes a step outline.
Yeah.
How something goes from concept to an actual film. And this could very be one of those.
Sweet. Peace. Check us out and subscribe.